Welcome back, everyone. Let me start with a question that I want you to hold in your mind for this entire video. What is the difference between a security manager and a security leader? A manager focuses on the day-to-day operations, patching servers, updating firewalls, responding to alerts. A leader looks beyond the next alert. A leader looks at the business. A leader understands that security is not a cost center. It is a business enabler. That is what governance is all about. It is the bridge between the server room and the boardroom. And that is exactly what we are going to cover in this video. Many professionals struggle with the same thing. They know the technical stuff. They know how to configure a firewall. They know how to patch a server. But when they sit in front of a board of directors, they freeze. They do not know how to speak the language of business. That is why CISM is different. It is not about technical skills. It is about strategic leadership. It is about aligning security with business objectives. It is about speaking to the board in terms they understand: risk, compliance, and return on investment. Here is how this works. For each concept, I will explain it like I am sitting next to you. I will tell you stories and give you real-world examples to make it stick. Then I will give you questions. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. I will tell you the right answer and, more importantly, why the wrong answers are wrong. Then I will share the traps that even experienced managers fall into, and 3 tips to lock the knowledge in. Governance is not about being a better technician. It is about becoming a better leader. Stick with me, and by the end of this video, you will know exactly how to bridge the gap between the server room and the boardroom. Let us get started. Let me clarify the single most important distinction you will learn in this entire domain. The difference between governance and management. Many people use these terms interchangeably. They are not the same. Confusing them will cost you on the exam and in your career. Let me give you a simple analogy. Imagine you are on a ship. The board of directors is like the captain and the navigators. They set the destination. They decide where the ship is going. They look at the map, they assess the weather, they set the course. That is governance. The CISO and the security team are like the crew. They steer the ship. They adjust the sails. They make sure the engine is running. They respond to storms. They do not decide where the ship is going. They execute the course that has been set. That is management. Governance answers the question, where are we going and why? Management answers the question, how do we get there? Let me define each one clearly using the frameworks you see here. Governance is the domain of the board of directors. Their key functions are evaluate, direct, and monitor, EDM for short. They evaluate the organization's risk posture. They direct the strategy by setting the risk appetite and ultimate business objectives. They monitor performance to ensure the organization is staying on course. Governance is about oversight, accountability, and setting the rules of the game. Management is the domain of the CISO and the security leadership team. Their key functions are plan, build, run, and monitor, PBRM for short. They plan the security program. They build the controls and capabilities. They run the operations day to day. They monitor performance and report back to the board. Management translates board directives into operational reality. Here is the critical relationship. The board sets the destination. The CISO navigates the route. The board does not tell the CISO how to steer the ship. The CISO does not tell the board where to go. Each has a distinct role, and both are essential. From a business perspective, this distinction is not academic. When governance and management are confused, you get problems. If the board starts telling the CISO how to configure firewalls, you have micromanagement. If the CISO starts setting risk appetite without board approval, you have a governance failure. Each must stay in their lane. Now, let me ask you a question. A board of directors sets the organization's risk appetite and approves the security strategy. The CISO implements controls and reports on performance. Which statement best describes this relationship? A. The board is responsible for management, the CISO is responsible for governance. B. The board is responsible for governance, the CISO is responsible for management. C. Both are equally responsible for governance and management. D. Governance and management are the same thing. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B. The board is responsible for governance, the CISO is responsible for management. Governance sets the direction. Management executes it. Option A is the opposite. Option C is false, they have distinct roles. Option D is false. So the correct answer is B. Now, let me ask you another question. A CISO proposes a new security control that requires significant investment. The board approves the budget and monitors the program's progress. Which governance function is the board performing? A. Plan. B. Build. C. Evaluate and monitor. D. Run. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is C. Evaluate and monitor. The board evaluates the proposal and monitors progress. Plan, build, and run are management functions. So the correct answer is C. Now a third question. A security team implements a new firewall rule to block a specific threat. The CISO reports the implementation to the board in the quarterly security update. Which functions are being performed? A. Governance only. B. Management only. C. Both governance and management. D. Neither. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is C. Both governance and management. The firewall implementation is management. The reporting to the board is governance, the board is monitoring. So the correct answer is C. Now, if you are ready, here is a more challenging question. A board member asks the CISO to explain why a specific security control was chosen over another. The CISO explains the technical details. The board member then asks, how does this control help us achieve our business objectives? The CISO cannot answer. What is the root cause of the problem? A. The CISO does not understand the technology. B. The CISO is thinking like a manager, not a leader. The board is asking about governance, business alignment, not technical details. C. The board member is asking the wrong question. D. The control is not effective. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B. The CISO is thinking like a manager, not a leader. The board is asking about governance, how does this control align with business objectives? The CISO must translate technical decisions into business value. Option A is the opposite. Option C is false, the board is asking the right question. Option D is not the root cause. So the correct answer is B. Now, let me share 3 traps that even experienced managers fall into. First, confusing governance with management. Governance sets the direction. Management executes it. They are not the same. Second, assuming that governance is only about compliance. Governance is about strategy, risk appetite, and business alignment. Compliance is just one part of it. Third, forgetting that the board sets the risk appetite. The CISO advises, but the board decides. You cannot implement a security program that exceeds the board's risk appetite. Here are 3 tips to lock this in. First, memorize the acronyms, EDM for governance, evaluate, direct, monitor, and PBRM for management, plan, build, run, monitor. Second, on the exam, if you see a question about setting direction or risk appetite, think governance. If you see a question about implementing controls, think management. Third, always translate technical decisions into business value when speaking to the board. They care about risk, cost, and benefit, not the technical details. Now that this distinction is clear, let's move forward and look at the fundamental principle that security exists to accelerate business objectives. Let me challenge a belief that many security professionals hold. Many people think security is a cost center. They think it is a necessary evil. They think it slows things down. That is a mistake. In fact, security exists to accelerate business objectives. Let me explain what I mean by that. A common misconception is that security is there to say, no. No, you cannot use this application. No, you cannot access this data. No, you cannot deploy that system. That is not security. That is obstruction. Good security does not say no. Good security says yes, but safely. Let me give you an analogy. Think of a race car. A race car without brakes is a death trap. You cannot drive it at full speed because you cannot stop. But a race car with excellent brakes can go faster. The driver knows they can stop safely, so they push the car to its limit. Security is the brakes. It is not there to slow the business down. It is there to allow the business to go at warp speed safely. Security exists to enable the business to achieve its objectives. If the business wants to enter a new market, security helps you do it securely. If the business wants to adopt a new technology, security helps you do it without exposing the organization to unacceptable risk. Security is not a gatekeeper. It is an enabler. From a business perspective, this is a mindset shift. When you start seeing security as an enabler, you stop being the department of no. You become a strategic partner. You help the business achieve its goals faster and safer. That is how you earn a seat at the table. Now, let me ask you a question. A business unit wants to adopt a new cloud service to improve customer experience. The security team conducts a risk assessment and recommends specific controls. The business unit implements the controls and launches the service ahead of schedule. What role did security play? A. Security acted as a roadblock. B. Security acted as an enabler by helping the business achieve its objective safely. C. Security ignored the business objective. D. Security only focused on compliance. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B. Security acted as an enabler. The security team helped the business achieve its objective safely. Option A is the opposite. Option C is false, they did not ignore the business objective. Option D is false, they focused on enablement, not just compliance. So the correct answer is B. Now, let me ask you another question. A security manager says, security is a cost center. We exist to protect the organization from threats. Which statement best challenges this assumption? A. Security is a cost center because it spends money. B. Security exists to enable business objectives, not just to protect against threats. C. Security should focus only on compliance. D. Security should say no to all new projects. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B. Security exists to enable business objectives, not just to protect against threats. Security is not just about protection. It is about enabling the business to move forward safely. Option A reinforces the misconception. Option C is false. Option D is false. So the correct answer is B. Now a third question. A company is launching a new product. The security team identifies risks and recommends controls. The product is launched on time because the security team worked with the development team to build security in from the start. What principle does this demonstrate? A. Security is a regulatory requirement. B. Security accelerates business objectives when it is integrated early. C. Security always delays projects. D. Security is only for large organizations. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B. security accelerates business objectives when it is integrated early. The security team enabled the launch by being a partner, not a blocker. Option A is not the primary principle. Option C is false. Option D is false. So the correct answer is B. Now, if you are ready. Here is a more challenging question. A CISO is told by the CFO that security is too expensive and that the budget will be cut. The CISO responds by showing that the security program enabled 3 major business initiatives that generated $10 million in new revenue. What is the CISO demonstrating? A. That security is a cost center. B. That security is a strategic enabler that creates business value. C. That security is a compliance requirement. D. That security is only needed for large projects. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B. The CISO is demonstrating that security is a strategic enabler that creates business value. Option A is the opposite. Option C is not the primary message. Option D is false. So the correct answer is B. Now, let me share 3 traps that even experienced managers fall into. First, thinking that security exists only to protect. Security exists to enable. Protection is part of it, but enablement is the goal. Second, assuming that saying no is the only way to be secure. Saying no is easy. Saying yes safely is hard. That is what good security does. Third, forgetting that security must be aligned with business strategy. If you do not know the business objectives, you cannot enable them. Here are 3 tips to lock this in. First, always ask yourself, how can we help the business achieve its objectives securely? That question will change your approach. Second, on the exam, if you see a question about the role of security, remember that security is about enablement, not obstruction. Third, measure your success by how much you enable, not by how much you block. Now that you understand the principle that security exists to accelerate business objectives, let's look at the 3 pillars of a value-driven security program. So how do you actually deliver value through security? It is not enough to say, security enables the business. You have to prove it. You have to build a program that is demonstrably valuable. And that program rests on 3 pillars. Benefits realization, risk optimization, and resource optimization. Let me walk you through each one. Leg 1, Benefits realization. This is about answering a simple question: did the business actually get the value it paid for? You can spend millions on security controls. But if the business does not see the value, you have a problem. Benefits realization means you are tracking whether your security investments are actually delivering the expected outcomes. If you buy a new CISM, did it reduce detection time? If you implement MFA, did it reduce account compromises? You must measure the outcomes, not just the activities. Leg 2, Risk optimization. This is where the race car analogy comes in. Security controls are like the brakes on a race car. They exist to allow the business to go safely at warp speed. Risk optimization is not about eliminating all risk. That is impossible. It is about finding the right balance. You want to take enough risk to be competitive, but not so much that you endanger the organization. Risk optimization is the sweet spot between too little and too much. Leg 3, Resource optimization. This is about eliminating the hero syndrome. Many organizations rely on a few heroic IT staff who keep everything running. They work late nights. They fix things manually. They are the single point of failure. That is not sustainable. Resource optimization means you rely on standardized, efficient processes. You automate. You document. You cross-train. You build a system that works even when the hero is not there. These 3 pillars work together. Benefits realization tells you if you are getting value. Risk optimization tells you if you are taking the right amount of risk. Resource optimization tells you if you are running efficiently. A program that has all three is a value-driven program. From a business perspective, these pillars are how you justify your budget. When the CFO asks why they should spend money on security, you do not say, because we need to be secure. You say, because this investment will reduce risk, optimize resources, and deliver measurable business value. Now, let me ask you a question. A company invests in a new security tool. After 6 months, the security team measures that detection time has improved by 40%. Which pillar is being demonstrated? A. Risk optimization. B. Resource optimization. C. Benefits realization. D. Compliance. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is C. Benefits realization. The company measured the outcome of the investment. Risk optimization is about balancing risk. Resource optimization is about efficiency. Compliance is not a pillar. So the correct answer is C. Now, let me ask you another question. A security team automates patch management to reduce manual effort and eliminate dependency on a single engineer. Which pillar is being demonstrated? A. Benefits realization. B. Risk optimization. C. Resource optimization. D. Governance. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is C. Resource optimization. Automation reduces manual effort and eliminates single points of failure. Benefits realization is about measuring outcomes. Risk optimization is about balancing risk. Governance is not a pillar. So the correct answer is C. Now a third question. A company decides to accept a certain level of risk to launch a new product faster. They implement controls to keep the risk within acceptable limits. Which pillar is being demonstrated? A. Benefits realization. B. Risk optimization. C. Resource optimization. D. Compliance. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B. Risk optimization. The company is balancing risk and reward. They are not eliminating risk, they are optimizing it. Benefits realization is about measuring outcomes. Resource optimization is about efficiency. Compliance is not a pillar. So the correct answer is B. Now, if you are ready, here is a more challenging question. A CISO presents to the board. She shows that the security program reduced detection time by 40%, automated 80% of manual tasks, and enabled 3 new product launches without exceeding the risk appetite. Which 3 pillars is she demonstrating? A. Benefits realization, risk optimization, resource optimization. B. Benefits realization only. C. Risk optimization only. D. Resource optimization only. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is A. She is demonstrating all 3 pillars. Reduced detection time is benefits realization. Automated tasks is resource optimization. Enabling product launches within risk appetite is risk optimization. So the correct answer is A. Now, let me share 3 traps that even experienced managers fall into. First, focusing only on one pillar. If you only optimize risk but ignore resource optimization, you will burn out your team. If you only measure benefits but ignore risk, you may be taking too much risk. You need all 3. Second, assuming that security value is obvious. It is not. You must measure and communicate it. Benefits realization is about proving value, not assuming it. Third, relying on heroes instead of processes. The hero syndrome is dangerous. If one person keeps everything running, you have a single point of failure. Resource optimization is about building systems that work without heroes. Here are 3 tips to lock this in. First, measure the outcomes of your security investments. Track metrics like detection time, response time, and cost savings. Second, communicate value to the board in business terms. Show them how security enables revenue, reduces risk, and optimizes resources. Third, build standardized processes. Automate where possible. Document everything. Cross-train your team. Eliminate single points of failure. Now that you understand the three pillars, let's clear up another source of confusion: the difference between information security, IT security, and cybersecurity. There is a lot of confusion around three terms that people often use interchangeably: information security, IT security, and cybersecurity. They are not the same. Understanding the difference is critical for the CISM exam and for communicating with business leaders. Let me define each one clearly. Information security. Information security is about protecting the data itself, regardless of the medium. Whether the data is on paper, on a server, or in the cloud, information security protects it. The business owns this data. The business decides who can access it and how it should be protected. Information security is the broadest of the three. IT security. IT security is about protecting the technology that processes and stores the data. IT owns the box, the servers, the networks, the endpoints. But IT does not own the data inside it. IT security is about securing the infrastructure. It is a subset of information security. Cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is about defending against threats that originate in cyberspace. It focuses on the digital attacks that come from the internet, hackers, malware, ransomware. Cybersecurity is also a subset of information security, but it is specifically focused on digital threats. Here is the key takeaway. Information security is the umbrella. IT security and cybersecurity are subsets. You cannot have effective information security without both IT security and cybersecurity. But they are not the same. Let me give you a practical example. A company has a paper document with sensitive customer data. Information security protects that document with a locked filing cabinet and access controls. IT security protects the network and servers where the digital version of that document is stored. Cybersecurity protects against hackers trying to steal that document from the internet. Each has a different focus, but they all serve the same ultimate goal: protecting the data. From a business perspective, this distinction matters because different stakeholders own different parts. The business owns the data, information security. IT owns the infrastructure, IT security. The security team focuses on digital threats, cybersecurity. Understanding this helps you allocate resources and communicate effectively. Now, let me ask you a question. A company stores customer data on a server. The server is protected by a firewall and antivirus software. Which security domain is being described? A. Information security. B. IT security. C. Cybersecurity. D. Physical security. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B. IT security. The focus is on protecting the technology, the server, the firewall, the antivirus. Information security would focus on the data itself. Cybersecurity would focus on threats from the internet. Physical security would focus on physical access. So the correct answer is B. Now, let me ask you another question. A company implements a policy requiring all sensitive documents to be encrypted, whether they are stored digitally or in paper form. Which security domain is being described? A. Information security. B. IT security. C. Cybersecurity. D. Network security. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is A. Information security. The focus is on protecting the data regardless of the medium. IT security would focus on the technology. Cybersecurity would focus on digital threats. Network security is a subset of IT security. So the correct answer is A. Now a third question. A company experiences a ransomware attack that originates from the internet. The security team responds by blocking the attack and restoring data from backups. Which security domains are involved? A. Cybersecurity only. B. Information security and cybersecurity. C. IT security only. D. Physical security only. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B. Information security and cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is involved because the attack originated from the internet. Information security is involved because the data must be protected and restored. IT security may also be involved, but the primary domains are information security and cybersecurity. So the correct answer is B. Now, if you are ready, here is a more challenging question. A CISO is presenting to the board. She explains that the company has strong cybersecurity but weak information security because the business does not classify data properly. What is the underlying issue? A. The IT team is not doing their job. B. Cybersecurity is not the same as information security. The business must own data classification. C. The firewall is misconfigured. D. The company needs more antivirus software. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B. Cybersecurity is not the same as information security. The business must own data classification. Cybersecurity protects against digital threats, but if the data itself is not classified and protected, the organization is still vulnerable. Option A is not the root cause. Option C and D are not relevant. So the correct answer is B. Now, let me share 3 traps that even experienced managers fall into. First, using the terms interchangeably. Information security, IT security, and cybersecurity are not the same. Know the difference. Second, assuming that cybersecurity covers everything. Cybersecurity focuses on digital threats. Information security is broader and includes physical and analog data. Third, forgetting that the business owns the data. IT does not own the data. IT owns the technology. The business must take ownership of data classification and protection. Here are 3 tips to lock this in. First, remember the hierarchy. Information security is the umbrella. IT security and cybersecurity are subsets. Second, on the exam, if you see a question about protecting data regardless of the medium, think information security. If you see a question about protecting technology, think IT security. If you see a question about digital threats, think cybersecurity. Third, when communicating with the business, use the term information security. It is broader and more inclusive than cybersecurity. Now that this distinction is clear, let's take a look at a principle that determines whether a security policy actually works: culture and the WFM principle. Let me tell you something that might challenge how you think about security policies. You can write the most technically perfect policy in the world. You can have the strongest encryption, the most detailed access controls, and the most rigorous compliance framework. But if that policy clashes with the core mission of the business, culture wins. Every single time. Let me give you an example. Imagine a hospital. The security policy says that all staff must log out of their workstations after 5 minutes of inactivity. Technically, that is a good policy. It protects patient data. But now imagine a nurse in the emergency room. She is treating a patient having a heart attack. She needs to access the patient's records immediately. She steps away from the computer for a moment to grab a defibrillator. The computer logs out. She has to log back in. She loses precious seconds. That policy just got in the way of saving a life. What do you think happens next? The nurse bypasses the policy. She shares her password with her colleagues. She writes it on a sticky note. She finds a workaround. The policy fails. Not because it was technically wrong, but because it clashed with the core mission, saving lives. Culture wins. That is the reality of security. When technical policy clashes with the core mission, culture wins. And the core mission is always the primary objective of the organization. For a hospital, it is saving lives. For a sales organization, it is closing deals. For a manufacturing company, it is producing goods. If your security policy gets in the way of that mission, people will find a way around it. So how do you solve this? You use the WFM principle. WFM stands for what's in it for me. To change behavior, you cannot just cite policy. You must align security with the employee's personal incentives. You must show them how security benefits them. For the nurse, you would not say, "This is the policy." You would say, "If you stay logged in, your patient's data could be exposed. That would harm your patient and your reputation." You connect security to what they care about, their patient and their professional integrity. For a salesperson, you would not say, "This is the policy." You would say, "If you lose this laptop, you will lose your customer data. That will delay your deals and cost you commission." You connect security to what they care about, their commission checks. That is the WFM principle. Security must align with personal incentives. If you can answer the question, "What's in it for me?" for each stakeholder, you will gain buy-in. Without that, no policy will succeed. From a business perspective, this is not optional. Culture is not something you change with a memo. It is something you influence through leadership, communication, and alignment. The CISM exam tests your understanding of this. It is not just about technical controls. It is about influencing behavior. Now, let me ask you a question. A hospital implements a policy requiring all staff to log out after 5 minutes of inactivity. Nurses bypass the policy by sharing passwords. What is the root cause? A. The nurses are not following the policy. B. The policy clashes with the core mission of saving lives. C. The policy is technically flawed. D. The nurses are not trained. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B. The policy clashes with the core mission of saving lives. The nurses are not being malicious. They are trying to do their jobs. The policy creates friction that interferes with their primary mission. Option A is a symptom, not the root cause. Option C is false, the policy is technically sound. Option D is not the root cause. So the correct answer is B. Now, let me ask you another question. A security manager wants to enforce a new policy requiring all employees to use MFA. The sales team resists because it adds extra steps to their workflow. What should the security manager do? A. Enforce the policy without exception. B. Use the WFM principle to explain how MFA protects their commission. Checks and customer data. C. Ignore the resistance. D. Remove the MFA requirement. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B. Use the WFM principle to explain how MFA protects their commission checks and customer data. Enforcement without explanation creates resistance. Ignoring the resistance does not solve the problem. Removing the requirement is not an option. So the correct answer is B. Now a third question. A security manager says, the policy is the policy. Employees must follow it. Which principle does this statement ignore? A. The WFM principle, people need to understand the personal benefit of compliance. B. The need for stronger enforcement. C. The need for more training. D. The need for technical controls. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is A. The WFM principle. People need to understand the personal benefit of compliance. Simply stating the policy is not enough. Option B, C, and D may also be relevant, but the core missing element is the WFM principle. So the correct answer is A. Now, if you are ready, here is a more challenging question. A company implements a policy requiring all employees to use a password manager. The policy is technically sound and reduces password reuse. However, employees complain that the password manager is slow and difficult to use. The security team insists that the policy is not negotiable. 6 months later, adoption is still low, and employees are reusing passwords. What was the primary failure? A. The password manager is technically flawed. B. The security team did not address the friction and failed to align the policy with employee incentives. C. The employees are lazy. D. The policy is too strict. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B. The security team did not address the friction and failed to align the policy with employee incentives. The policy is technically sound, but it creates friction. The security team did not use the WFM principle to gain buy-in. Option A is not the primary failure. Option C is not the root cause. Option D is false, the policy is not too strict. So the correct answer is B. Now, let me share 3 traps that even experienced managers fall into. First, assuming that policy alone changes behavior. It does not. People need to understand why the policy matters to them personally. Second, ignoring friction. If a policy creates too much friction, people will bypass it. You must understand the workflow and reduce friction where possible. Third, forgetting that culture is more powerful than policy. Culture is the water we swim in. If your policy conflicts with the culture, you lose. Here are 3 tips to lock this in. First, always ask yourself, what's in it for me, for each stakeholder? Tailor your communication to their personal incentives. Second, test your policies with end users before rolling them out. Understand the friction points and address them. Third, lead with culture, not just policy. Influence behavior through leadership, communication, and alignment with business objectives. Now that you understand the importance of culture and the WFM principle, let's look at the cascading flow of organizational security rules, policies, standards, guidelines, and procedures. Let's talk about something that seems simple but confuses a lot of people. The hierarchy of security documents. Policies, standards, guidelines, and procedures. These 4 terms are often used incorrectly. But they are not interchangeable. Each one has a specific purpose. Each one sits at a different level in the organizational hierarchy. Let me explain it with an analogy. Imagine you are building a house. You start with the blueprint. The blueprint tells you what you want to build, the overall vision, the specifications. That is your policy. Then you have the building code. The building code tells you what you must do to meet safety standards. That is your standard. Then you have the architect's notes. The architect says, it is recommended to use this type of insulation. That is your guideline. Finally, you have the contractor's daily work orders. Step 1, lay the foundation. Step 2, frame the walls. That is your procedure. Let me define each one clearly. Policies are the highest level. They are broad statements of intent. They come from senior management. They answer the question, why are we doing this? A policy might say, we will protect customer data. That is the policy. It sets the direction. It does not tell you how. It tells you what is important. Standards are below policies. They are mandatory requirements. They answer the question, what must we do? A standard might say, all customer data must be encrypted using AES 256. That is a standard. It is specific. It is enforceable. There is no flexibility. Guidelines are below standards. They are recommended best practices. They answer the question, what is a good idea? A guideline might say, it is recommended to use a passphrase of at least 15 characters. That is a guideline. It is not mandatory. You can deviate from it if you have a good reason. Procedures are at the bottom. They are step-by-step instructions. They answer the question, how do we do this? A procedure might say, Step 1, open the encryption tool. Step 2, select the file. Step 3, choose AES 256. Step 4, enter the key. That is a procedure. It is detailed. It is mandatory when performing that task. The hierarchy is important. Policies are broad. Standards are specific. Guidelines are recommendations. Procedures are step-by-step. Each level supports the one above it. You cannot have a standard that contradicts a policy. You cannot have a procedure that violates a standard. From a business perspective, this hierarchy helps you communicate expectations clearly. The board sets the policy. The security team translates it into standards. The operational teams follow guidelines and procedures. When you understand this, you can design documents that are actually useful. Now, let me ask you a question. A document states, all user accounts must be reviewed quarterly. Any account inactive for 90 days must be disabled. What type of document is this? A. Policy. B. Standard. C. Guideline. D. Procedure. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B. Standard. It is mandatory and specific. A policy would be broader, like, we will manage user access appropriately. A guideline would be optional. A procedure would say how to perform the review. So the correct answer is B. Now, let me ask you another question. A document provides step-by-step instructions for requesting a new user account, including screenshots and specific fields to fill out. What type of document is this? A. Policy. B. Standard. C. Guideline. D. Procedure. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is D. Procedure. It is detailed and task-oriented. A standard would say what must be done. A guideline would be a recommendation. A policy is a broad statement of intent. So the correct answer is D. Now a third question. A company has a policy that says, all remote access must be secure. Which of the following is an example of a guideline? A. All remote connections must use VPN. B. It is recommended to connect from a company-managed device when possible. C. Step 1. Install the VPN client. D. Remote access is prohibited. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B. It is recommended to connect from a company-managed device when possible. The word recommended indicates it is a guideline. Option A is a standard. Option C is a procedure. Option D is a policy statement. So the correct answer is B. Now, if you are ready, here is a more challenging question. A security team develops a policy that says, all sensitive data must be protected. They then write a standard that says, all sensitive data must be encrypted using AES 256. A developer points out that the standard does not say how to implement encryption. What is the missing document? A. A new policy. B. A guideline. C. A procedure. D. A regulation. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is C. A procedure. The policy says why. The standard says what. The missing piece is the how, the step-by-step procedure. A guideline is optional. A regulation is external. A new policy is not needed. So the correct answer is C. Now, let me share 3 traps that even experienced managers fall into. First, confusing standards with procedures. A standard tells you what must be done. A procedure tells you how. They serve different purposes. Second, thinking that guidelines are not important. Guidelines are not mandatory, but they are valuable. They guide behavior when there is no specific standard. Third, having policies that contradict lower-level documents. The hierarchy must be consistent. If a policy says, protect data, but a standard allows unencrypted transmission, you have a problem. Here are 3 tips to lock this in. First, remember the hierarchy: policy, why; standard, what; guideline, recommended; procedure, how. A useful mnemonic is, please stay good people. Second, on the exam, look for keywords. Must, or shall, indicates a standard. Should, or recommended, indicates a guideline. Step-by-step language indicates a procedure. Broad statements indicate a policy. Third, ensure your documents are consistent. Align procedures with standards. Align standards with policies. Now that you understand the cascading flow of organizational security rules, let's turn to the external forces that shape them, navigating the immovable forces of global compliance. Now that you understand the hierarchy of security documents, let's talk about the external forces that shape them. You can write the best policies in the world. You can have perfect standards and detailed procedures. But none of that matters if you ignore the legal and regulatory landscape. You are not operating in a vacuum. You are operating in a world of subpoenas, privacy regulations, and conflicting requirements. Let me walk you through 3 key elements you see here: US subpoenas, EU GDPR, and the dilemma they create. US subpoenas. In the United States, law enforcement can compel organizations to produce data through subpoenas, court orders, and warrants. These are legal demands. They must be complied with. Failure to respond can result in contempt of court, fines, or even criminal charges. The challenge is that subpoenas often require producing data that may be subject to other legal obligations, such as privacy protections. EU GDPR. The General Data Protection Regulation is one of the most comprehensive privacy regulations in the world. It gives individuals control over their personal data. It requires organizations to protect that data and to obtain consent for its use. It also includes strict requirements for data transfers outside the EU. GDPR has teeth. Fines can reach up to €20 million or 4% of global annual revenue. The dilemma. Here is the problem. What happens when a US subpoena demands data that is protected by GDPR? A US court says, produce the data. The GDPR says, you cannot transfer this data without proper safeguards. You are caught in the middle. Comply with the subpoena and you risk GDPR fines. Comply with GDPR and you risk contempt of court. That is the dilemma. The strategy. So how do you navigate this? You need a proactive strategy. First, you must understand the legal obligations in each jurisdiction where you operate. You cannot wait until a subpoena arrives. You must have a plan. Second, you need to implement technical and organizational measures to protect data. This includes data classification, encryption, and access controls. Third, you must have a cross-border data transfer mechanism in place, such as standard contractual clauses or binding corporate rules. Fourth, you need to engage legal counsel early. Do not try to navigate this alone. Finally, you must communicate with regulators. If you receive a conflicting demand, you may need to seek guidance from data protection authorities. From a business perspective, this is not just a legal issue. It is a governance issue. The board expects the security leader to understand these obligations and to have a plan. The CISM exam tests your understanding of this. You need to demonstrate that you can balance competing obligations. Now, let me ask you a question. A US-based company receives a subpoena for customer data stored in an EU data center. The GDPR restricts data transfers outside the EU without proper safeguards. What should the company do first? A. Immediately produce the data to comply with the subpoena. B. Ignore the subpoena and comply with GDPR. C. Engage legal counsel to navigate the conflicting obligations. D. Delete the data to avoid both obligations. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is C. Engage legal counsel to navigate the conflicting obligations. Producing the data immediately could violate GDPR. Ignoring the subpoena could lead to contempt. Deleting the data is not an option. Legal counsel can help you find a path forward. So the correct answer is C. Now, let me ask you another question. A company operates in the EU and stores customer data in the United States. The company has implemented standard contractual clauses to legitimize data transfers. What does this demonstrate? A. The company is ignoring GDPR. B. The company has a strategy to navigate cross-border data transfer requirements. C. The company is only complying with US law. D. The company is not subject to GDPR. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B. The company has a strategy to navigate cross-border data transfer requirements. Standard contractual clauses are a recognized mechanism for transferring data outside the EU in compliance with GDPR. Option A is false. Option C is false. Option D is false. So the correct answer is B. Now a third question. A company receives a US subpoena and a GDPR request for the same data. The company cannot comply with both. What is the most appropriate next step? A. Comply with the subpoena because it is a court order. B. Comply with GDPR because the fines are higher. C. Notify the relevant data protection authority and seek guidance. D. Ignore both requests. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is C. Notify the relevant data protection authority and seek guidance. In a conflict between legal obligations, transparency and communication are essential. Option A and B may both be wrong depending on the circumstances. Option D is not an option. So the correct answer is C. Now, if you are ready, here is a more challenging question. A company is based in the US but has customers in the EU. The company has a policy of complying with all legal requests. A US law enforcement agency issues a subpoena for customer data. The company's legal team determines that the subpoena is valid. However, the data is stored in the EU and is subject to GDPR. The company has standard contractual clauses in place. What is the best course of action? A. Produce the data immediately to comply with the subpoena. B. Refuse the subpoena and cite GDPR. C. Engage with the U.S. court to seek a protective order that balances U.S. legal obligations with GDPR requirements. D. Transfer the data to the U.S. without any further steps. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is C. Engage with the U.S. court to seek a protective order that balances U.S. legal obligations with GDPR requirements. A protective order can help ensure that the data is handled appropriately. Producing the data immediately could violate GDPR. Refusing the subpoena could lead to contempt. Transferring data without steps is risky. So the correct answer is C. Now, let me share 3 traps that even experienced managers fall into. First, assuming that one jurisdiction's law always takes precedence. They do not. You must navigate the intersection of laws. Second, waiting until a subpoena arrives to develop a strategy. That is too late. You must plan ahead. Third, ignoring the role of data protection authorities. They are not adversaries. They can provide guidance and even help resolve conflicts. Here are 3 tips to lock this in. First, develop a cross-border data transfer strategy before you need it. Implement standard contractual clauses, binding corporate rules, or other recognized mechanisms. Second, engage legal counsel early and often. This is not a problem you can solve alone. Third, understand the key regulations in every jurisdiction where you operate. GDPR is not the only regulation. Know the local requirements. Now that you understand the challenge of navigating global compliance, let's look at why security cannot be siloed, the convergence of physical and logical security. Now that you understand the challenges of navigating global compliance, let me show you why security cannot be siloed. Many organizations treat physical security and logical security as separate functions. Physical security guards the gates. Logical security guards the firewalls. But in reality, they are two sides of the same coin. If an attacker can touch the server, your firewall is irrelevant. That is convergence. Let me explain what I mean. Physical security is about protecting the physical assets, the building, the data center, the servers, the cables. Logical security is about protecting the digital assets, the firewalls, the encryption, the access controls, the networks. They are often managed by different teams. Physical security reports to facilities. Logical security reports to IT. They rarely talk to each other. That is a problem. Here is why. If an attacker can walk into your data center, they can bypass every firewall, every IDS, every encryption control you have. They can plug a device directly into your network. They can steal hard drives. They can install a keylogger on a server. Physical access trumps logical controls every single time. Let me give you a real example. A company had a state-of-the-art firewall, advanced intrusion detection, and strong encryption. But their data center door was propped open for convenience. An attacker walked in, plugged a laptop into an open network port, and exfiltrated data for weeks. No one noticed because the logical controls were bypassed by physical access. That is convergence failure. So what does convergence mean in practice? It means you must unify physical and logical security governance. You must have a single team or a single governance structure that oversees both. You must have integrated policies. You must have combined risk assessments. You must have joint incident response. From a business perspective, convergence reduces gaps. It eliminates the blind spots that attackers exploit. It also reduces costs. Instead of two separate teams, you have one integrated function. And it improves response times. When an incident occurs, you do not have to coordinate between two separate teams. Now, let me ask you a question. A company has a state-of-the-art firewall and intrusion detection system. However, the data center door is propped open for convenience. An attacker walks in and plugs a laptop into the network. Which security domain failed? A. Logical security. B. Physical security. C. Both physical and logical security, the physical control failed, and the logical controls were bypassed. D. Neither. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is C. Both physical and logical security. The physical control failed because the door was propped open. The logical controls were bypassed because the attacker gained physical access. Option A is only part of the problem. Option B is only part of the problem. Option D is false. So the correct answer is C. Now, let me ask you another question. A security team implements strong access controls, encryption, and monitoring. However, they do not have guards, cameras, or locks on the server room. What is the primary risk? A. The data is still secure because of logical controls. B. An attacker with physical access can bypass all logical controls. C. Physical security is not important. D. Logical controls are sufficient. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B. An attacker with physical access can bypass all logical controls. Logical controls are not sufficient if physical security is weak. Option A is false. Option C is false. Option D is false. So the correct answer is B. Now a third question. A CISO recommends integrating physical and logical security under a single governance structure. What is the primary benefit? A. It reduces the need for logical controls. B. It eliminates gaps and blind spots that attackers exploit. C. It makes physical security more expensive. D. It reduces the need for guards. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B. It eliminates gaps and blind spots that attackers exploit. Integration reduces the gaps that attackers exploit. Option A is false, logical controls are still needed. Option C is false. Option D is false. So the correct answer is B. Now, if you are ready, here is a more challenging question. A company has a secure data center with biometric access controls, 24/7 guards, and CCTV. They also have strong logical controls, including firewalls, encryption, and intrusion detection. A disgruntled employee with legitimate access steals a hard drive from the server room. What does this demonstrate? A. Logical controls are sufficient. B. Physical controls are sufficient. C. Insider threats can bypass both physical and logical controls. Convergence must also include personnel security. D. The employee should not have had access. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is C. Insider threats can bypass both physical and logical controls. Convergence must also include personnel security. The employee had legitimate access. Physical and logical controls were bypassed because the employee was trusted. This demonstrates that convergence is not just about physical and logical security. It must also include personnel security. Option A and B are false. Option D is true, but the deeper lesson is about convergence and insider threats. So the correct answer is C. Now, let me share 3 traps that even experienced managers fall into. First, treating physical and logical security as separate functions. They are not. They must be integrated. Second, assuming that strong logical controls make physical security unnecessary. They do not. Physical access trumps logical controls every time. Third, forgetting insider threats. Physical and logical controls are often designed to keep outsiders out. Insiders already have access. You must also consider personnel security. Here are 3 tips to lock this in. First, integrate physical and logical security under a single governance structure. Ensure they share policies, risk assessments, and incident response plans. Second, conduct joint risk assessments. Assess physical and logical risks together. Identify the gaps where one depends on the other. Third, include personnel security in your convergence strategy. Background checks, access reviews, and monitoring are essential. Now that you understand the importance of convergence, let's clarify a distinction that confuses many security professionals: accountability versus responsibility. Now that you understand the importance of convergence between physical and logical security, let me clarify a distinction that confuses many security professionals. Accountability versus responsibility. These 2 terms are often used interchangeably, but they are not the same. Understanding the difference is critical for the CISM exam and for effective governance. Let me start with a simple statement. You can share responsibility, but you can never share accountability. Let me repeat that. You can share responsibility, but you can never share accountability. Let me define each one clearly. Accountability is ownership. It is the single person whose head is on the chopping block. If something goes wrong, the accountable person is the one who answers for it. There can be only one accountable person per task. You cannot have 2 people accountable for the same thing. If you do, you actually have none. Accountability is about ultimate liability. Responsibility is execution. It is the person or team doing the work. Responsibility can be shared. Multiple people can be responsible for different parts of a task. Responsibility is about action. Let me give you an example. A security project is initiated. The CISO is accountable for the project's success. The security team is responsible for executing the project. If the project fails, the CISO answers to the board. The team may have made mistakes, but the CISO carries the accountability. That is why we use the RACI model. RACI stands for responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. Responsible, the doer. The person or team who performs the work. This can be shared. Accountable, the owner. The single person who answers for the outcome. There can be only one. Consulted, the stakeholders who provide input. They are consulted before decisions are made. Informed, the stakeholders who receive updates. They are informed after decisions are made. The critical rule is this: there can be only one per task. If you have more than one person accountable, you have diffusion of accountability. No one is truly accountable. And when no one is accountable, things fall through the cracks. From a business perspective, this model is essential for governance. It clarifies roles. It prevents confusion. It ensures that someone is always accountable for every critical task. The board expects the CISO to understand this. The CISM exam tests your understanding of this. Now, let me ask you a question. A security project is initiated. The CISO is accountable for its success. The security team is responsible for executing the work. If the project fails, who is accountable? A. The security team. B. The CISO. C. Both the security team and the CISO. D. No one. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B. The CISO. Accountability lies with the CISO. The team is responsible, but the CISO is accountable. Option A is incorrect. Option C is incorrect. There can be only one accountable person. Option D is incorrect. So the correct answer is B. Now, let me ask you another question. A security analyst implements a new firewall rule. The analyst is performing which role in the RACI model? A. Accountable. B. Responsible. C. Consulted. D. Informed. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B. Responsible. The analyst is performing the work. The accountable person is the one who answers for the outcome. Consulted is for input. Informed is for updates. So the correct answer is B. Now a third question. A security manager is developing a new security policy. The manager consults with legal and HR before finalizing the policy. What role are legal and HR performing? A. Accountable. B. Responsible. C. Consulted. D. Informed. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is C. Consulted. They are providing input before the decision is made. They are not doing the work. They are not accountable. They are not just informed. So the correct answer is C. Now, if you are ready, here is a more challenging question. A company has a major data breach. The board demands answers. The CISO explains that the security team was responsible for implementing controls, but the breach occurred because the team did not follow procedures. The CISO says, the team is responsible. The board asks, who is accountable? Which statement best describes the correct response? A. The security team is accountable because they did not follow procedures. B. The CISO is accountable because accountability cannot be delegated. C. Both the team and the CISO are accountable. D. No one is accountable because the breach was unavoidable. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B. The CISO is accountable because accountability cannot be delegated. The team is responsible for execution, but the CISO carries ultimate accountability. Option A is incorrect, accountability lies with the CISO. Option C is incorrect, there can be only one accountable person. Option D is incorrect. So the correct answer is B. Now, let me share 3 traps that even experienced managers fall into. First, confusing accountability with responsibility. Accountability is ownership. Responsibility is execution. They are not the same. Second, having multiple accountable people per task. If you have more than one, you have none. Accountability must be clear and singular. Third, assuming that delegation of responsibility means delegation of accountability. It does not. You can delegate responsibility, but you cannot delegate accountability. The buck stops with you. Here are 3 tips to lock this in. First, always assign a single accountable person for every critical task. Use the RACI model to clarify roles. Second, communicate the RACI model to your team. Ensure everyone understands the difference between accountable and responsible. Third, on the exam, if you see a question about who answers for a failure, the answer is almost always the accountable person, not the responsible person. Now that you understand accountability versus responsibility, let's talk about strategy, how you bridge current reality and desired state. Now that you understand accountability and responsibility, let me talk about something that separates great security leaders from good ones. Strategy. Many people confuse strategy with planning. They are not the same. Planning is about what you do next. Strategy is about where you are going and how you will get there. Think of strategy as a bridge. On one side, you have your current reality, where you are today. On the other side, you have your desired state, where you want to be. Strategy is the bridge that connects them. It is not a wish. It is not a vague aspiration. It is a concrete plan for closing the gap. Let me break down the 3 components of strategy that you see here. Gap analysis. This is where you start. You assess your current state. You assess your desired state. You identify the gap between them. Gap analysis answers the question, where are we today versus where we need to be? It is not about guesswork. It is about data. You must understand your current capabilities, your risks, your compliance posture, and your resource constraints. Only then can you identify the gap. Resource allocation. Once you know the gap, you need to allocate resources to close it. Resources include people, budget, and technology. You must decide where to invest. You must prioritize. You cannot close every gap at once. You must allocate resources based on risk and business impact. Actionable milestones. Strategy is not abstract. It is a set of actionable milestones. You break down the gap into measurable steps. You define what success looks like. You set deadlines. You assign owners. Strategy without milestones is just a wish. Strategy is not abstract. It is a structured approach to moving from where you are to where you need to be. It requires clear goals, honest assessment, and disciplined execution. From a business perspective, the board expects the CISO to have a strategy. They do not want a list of projects. They want a clear plan for reducing risk and enabling the business. They want milestones. They want metrics. They want accountability. Now, let me ask you a question. A CISO conducts a risk assessment and identifies that the organization's detection capabilities are below industry standards. The CISO develops a plan to implement a new CISM system over the next 12 months. Which phase of strategy is the CISO performing? A. Gap analysis. B. Resource allocation. C. Actionable milestones. D. Strategy execution. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is a gap analysis. The CISO identified the gap between current and desired state. Resource allocation would involve budgeting for the CISM. Actionable milestones would be the steps to implement it. So the correct answer is A. Now, let me ask you another question. A CISO allocates $500,000 to implement a new security awareness program. Which phase of strategy is this? A. Gap analysis. B. Resource allocation. C. Actionable milestones. D. Strategy definition. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B. Resource allocation. The CISO is assigning budget to close a gap. Gap analysis would have identified the need. Actionable milestones would break down the implementation. So the correct answer is B. Now a third question. A CISO develops a roadmap with quarterly milestones for implementing a new security architecture. Which phase of strategy is this? A. Gap analysis. B. Resource allocation. C. Actionable milestones. D. Strategy definition. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is C. Actionable milestones. The roadmap breaks the strategy into measurable steps. Gap analysis identifies the gap. Resource allocation assigns budget and people. So the correct answer is C. Now, if you are ready, here is a more challenging question. A CISO presents a strategy to the board. The strategy includes a gap analysis, resource allocation, and a roadmap with milestones. The board approves the strategy. 6 months later, the CISO reports that the milestones have been met on time and within budget. What is the CISO demonstrating? A. That the strategy was abstract. B. That the strategy was well-defined and executed. C. That the strategy was unnecessary. D. That the strategy was too detailed. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B. The strategy was well-defined and executed. The CISO demonstrated that strategy is not abstract. It is a structured approach with measurable milestones. Option A is the opposite. Option C is false. Option D is false. So the correct answer is B. Now, let me share 3 traps that even experienced managers fall into. First, confusing strategy with planning. Planning is about tactics. Strategy is about direction. They are not the same. Second, developing a strategy without a gap analysis. You cannot close a gap you have not identified. Third, creating milestones that are not actionable. Milestones must be specific, measurable, and time-bound. Vague milestones are not helpful. Here are 3 tips to lock this in. First, always start with a gap analysis. Understand where you are before you decide where you are going. Second, allocate resources based on risk and business impact. Prioritize the gaps that matter most. Third, break your strategy into actionable milestones. Define what success looks like and track progress. Now that you understand strategy, let's talk about a concept that is often misunderstood, the break-even point of maturity. Let me talk about a concept that is often misunderstood. Security maturity. Many people think that the goal is to reach the highest level of maturity. Level 5. Optimized. The best of the best. That is a mistake. The goal is not maximum maturity. The goal is appropriate maturity. Level 2 or 3 is often perfectly adequate for non-critical assets. Over-optimizing low-risk systems wastes money that should be deployed elsewhere. You must match the maturity target to the actual risk appetite of the organization. Let me explain what I mean by the break-even point. Imagine you are building a security program. You start at level 1, ad hoc. No processes. No consistency. You invest in controls and processes. You move to level 2, repeatable. You have some processes, but they are not consistent. You invest more. You move to level 3, defined. You have standardized processes across the organization. You invest more. You move to level 4, managed. You are measuring and improving. You invest more. You move to level 5, optimized. You are continuously improving and adapting. The break-even point is the level where the cost of additional maturity exceeds the benefit of additional maturity. For non-critical assets, that point is often level 2 or 3. For critical assets, it might be level 4 or 5. The key is to match the maturity target to the risk appetite. Let me give you an analogy. Imagine you are securing a building. For a janitorial closet, you might use a simple lock. You do not need a biometric scanner, security guards, and CCTV. That would be over-optimizing. For a vault with millions of dollars, you might use biometrics, guards, and multiple layers of security. That is appropriate maturity. The same principle applies to security programs. Not all assets are equal. Not all risks are equal. You must invest where it matters most. From a business perspective, this is about resource optimization. The board expects you to spend money wisely. They do not expect you to protect every asset with the highest level of controls. They expect you to prioritize. Now, let me ask you a question. A company has a non-critical system that processes low-value data. The security team implements level 4 controls for this system. Which statement best describes this situation? A. The company is appropriately securing the system. B. The company is over-optimizing and wasting resources. C. The company is under-securing the system. D. The company is following best practices. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B. The company is over-optimizing and wasting resources. For a non-critical system, level 4 is likely excessive. Level 2 or 3 would be more appropriate. Option A is false. Option C is false. Option D is false. So the correct answer is B. Now, let me ask you another question. A company has a critical system that processes sensitive customer data. The security team implements level 2 controls. Which statement best describes this situation? A. The company is appropriately securing the system. B. The company is over-optimizing and wasting resources. C. The company is under-securing the system. D. The company is following best practices. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is C. The company is under-securing the system. A critical system with sensitive data requires higher maturity. Level 2 is likely insufficient. Option A is false. Option B is false. Option D is false. So the correct answer is C. Now a third question. A security manager decides to implement level 3 controls for all systems, regardless of their criticality. What is the primary risk? A. The company is over-optimizing all systems. B. The company is wasting resources on non-critical systems and under-securing critical systems. C. The company is following best practices. D. The company is appropriately securing all systems. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B. The company is wasting resources on non-critical systems and under-securing critical systems. A one-size-fits-all approach does not work. Option A is only part of the problem. Option C is false. Option D is false. So the correct answer is B. Now, if you are ready, here is a more challenging question. A company has a mature security program with level 4 controls. However, the board asks the CISO why the organization is not at level 5. The CISO explains that level 5 would require significant investment with minimal additional benefit for the organization's risk profile. What is the CISO demonstrating? A. That the organization is not mature enough. B. That the organization has reached the break-even point of maturity. C. That the organization needs more investment. D. that the organization should aim for level 5 regardless. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B, the organization has reached the break-even point of maturity. The CISO is demonstrating an understanding of resource optimization. Option A is false. Option C is false. Option D is false. So the correct answer is B. Now, let me share 3 traps that even experienced managers fall into. First, assuming that maximum maturity is always the goal. It is not. The goal is appropriate maturity. Second, applying the same maturity level to all assets. Not all assets are equal. You must prioritize. Third, forgetting that maturity is not a destination. It is a journey. You must continuously assess and adjust. Here are 3 tips to lock this in. First, assess the criticality of each asset. Classify assets based on their value and risk. Second, match the maturity target to the risk appetite of the organization. Level 2 or 3 is often sufficient for non-critical assets. Third, review your maturity levels regularly. As the organization changes, so do the risks. Now that you understand the break-even point of maturity, let's turn to how you measure what matters to the board, the difference between KPIs and KRIs. Let me talk about something that separates great security leaders from good ones. How you measure and communicate performance. Many security professionals measure what is easy to measure. They track the number of alerts, the number of patches, the number of vulnerabilities. That is technical data. The board does not care about technical data. The board cares about business impact. That is why you need to understand the difference between KPIs and KRIs, and why you must translate raw technical data into business impact. Let me define each one clearly. KPIs, Key Performance Indicators. KPIs measure how well a process is working. They look backward. They tell you how you have performed. Examples include mean time to detect, MTTD, mean time to respond, MTTR, and the percentage of endpoints patched within 7 days. KPIs answer the question, how are we doing? KRIs, Key Risk Indicators. KRIs act as early warning systems. They look forward. They tell you that risk exposure is increasing. Examples include a surge in external port scans, the number of legacy systems approaching end of life, or the number of critical vulnerabilities older than 30 days. KRIs answer the question, are we at risk? The key difference is that KPIs measure performance. KRIs measure risk exposure. You need both. But you must present them differently. Here is the critical rule. Never present raw, technical data to the board without translating it into business impact. The board does not care that you patched 95% of endpoints. They care that the 5% of unpatched endpoints represent a risk that could cost the company $10 million in a breach. You must translate the technical metric into a business consequence. Let me give you an example. You might measure MTTD, mean time to detect. A KPI might show that MTTD has been reduced by 4 hours. That is a technical metric. But to the board, you say, by reducing our MTTD by 4 hours, we have reduced the potential financial impact of a breach by 20%. That is business impact. That is what the board cares about. From a business perspective, the board expects you to speak their language. They care about risk, cost, and compliance. They do not care about technical details. You must translate. Now, let me ask you a question. A security dashboard shows that the mean time to detect, MTTD, has been reduced by 4 hours. What type of metric is this? A. KRI. B. KPI. C. SLA. D. ROI. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B. KPI. MTTD measures how well the detection process is working. It is a performance indicator. KRIs measure risk exposure. SLA is a contract term. ROI is a financial metric. So the correct answer is B. Now, let me ask you another question. A security analyst notices that external port scans against the company's firewall have tripled in the last week. What type of metric is this, and what does it indicate? A. KPI, the firewall is working well. B. KPI, the security team is doing a great job. C. KRI, the company's exposure to a potential attack has increased. D. KRI, the company has already been breached. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is C. KRI, the company's exposure to a potential attack has increased. Port scans are an early warning sign. They indicate that attackers are probing the perimeter. It does not mean you have been breached. It is a forward-looking indicator. So the correct answer is C. Now a third question. A CISO presents a report to the board that shows a 95% patch compliance rate. The board asks, what does that mean for our business? The CISO responds, it means we are 95% compliant. Why is this response inadequate? A. The CISO did not translate the metric into business impact. B. The CISO provided too much detail. C. The board should not ask questions. D. The CISO is not technical enough. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is A. The CISO did not translate the metric into business impact. The board needs to understand what the metric means for risk, cost, and business operations. A 95% patch compliance rate means 5% of systems are vulnerable. The CISO should explain the risk and impact of that 5%. So the correct answer is A. Now, if you are ready, here is a more challenging question. A security team implements a new detection tool. Over 6 months, the mean time to detect, MTTD, drops from 48 hours to 12 hours. The CISO presents this to the board. Which presentation would be most effective? A. Our MTTD dropped from 48 to 12 hours. B. Our MTTD dropped from 48 to 12 hours, reducing our potential breach cost by an estimated 30%. C. We implemented a new tool. D. We are now compliant. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B. Our MTTD dropped from 48 to 12 hours, reducing our potential breach cost by an estimated 30%. This translates the technical metric into business impact. Option A is technical. Option C is not specific. Option D is not relevant. So the correct answer is B. Now, let me share 3 traps that even experienced managers fall into. First, presenting raw technical data to the board. The board does not care about technical details. They care about business impact. Second, confusing KPIs with KRIs. KPIs measure performance. KRIs measure risk exposure. They are not the same. Third, failing to connect metrics to business objectives. Every metric should answer the question, how does this help the business? Here are 3 tips to lock this in. First, always translate technical metrics into business impact. Use language like, reduces risk, saves cost, or, enables growth. Second, track both KPIs and KRIs. Use KPIs to measure performance. Use KRIs to identify emerging risks. Third, practice your board presentations. Ask yourself, does this make sense to someone who is not technical? If not, rephrase it. Now that you have a clear understanding of KPIs and KRIs, let's turn to integrated assurance and how it prevents audit fatigue. Let me talk about a problem that plagues many organizations. Audit fatigue. Multiple auditors, multiple frameworks, multiple requests for the same evidence. It is inefficient, expensive, and demoralizing. The solution is integrated assurance. Let me start by defining the problem. Many organizations have separate audits for different purposes. A financial audit. A compliance audit. A security audit. A vendor audit. Each auditor asks for similar evidence. Each auditor has a different format. Each auditor has a different timeline. The security team spends countless hours responding to overlapping requests. That is audit fatigue. The problem is that these audits are not coordinated. They operate in silos. They do not share evidence. They do not align timelines. The result is wasted effort, duplicated work, and frustrated teams. The solution is integrated assurance. Integrated assurance is a coordinated approach to audits. Instead of multiple separate audits, you have a single framework that satisfies multiple requirements. You align the audits. You share evidence. You coordinate timelines. You reduce the burden on the security team. Here is how it works. You map your controls to multiple frameworks. Instead of documenting controls separately for each audit, you document them once and map them to all relevant frameworks. You centralize the evidence. Instead of collecting evidence separately for each audit, you maintain a central repository of evidence. You coordinate the audits. Instead of having audits at different times, you align the schedules. You communicate with the auditors. You ensure they are aware of other audits and can share evidence. From a business perspective, integrated assurance reduces costs. It reduces the time spent on audits. It reduces the burden on the security team. It improves the quality of the audits because the evidence is consistent. And it reduces the risk of gaps because the controls are mapped to multiple frameworks. Now, let me ask you a question. A company has separate audits for financial controls, security controls, and vendor controls. Each audit requests similar evidence. The security team spends excessive time responding to overlapping requests. What is the primary problem? A. The security team is not competent. B. The company lacks integrated assurance. C. The auditors are too demanding. D. The company has too many controls. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B. The company lacks integrated assurance. The audits are not coordinated. Option A is not the root cause. Option C is not the root cause. Option D is not the root cause. So the correct answer is B. Now, let me ask you another question. A security manager implements a single control framework that maps to multiple compliance standards. Instead of documenting controls separately for each audit, the manager documents them once. What is this an example of? A. Audit fatigue. B. Integrated assurance. C. Compliance overload. D. Control mapping. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B. Integrated assurance. The manager is coordinating the audits and reducing the burden. Option A is the problem, not the solution. Option C is not correct. Option D is a component, but the overall approach is integrated assurance. So the correct answer is B. Now a third question. A company implements a central repository for audit evidence. The repository contains all controls, policies, and test results. Auditors are given access to the repository instead of requesting evidence individually. What is the primary benefit? A. The company saves time and reduces duplication of effort. B. The company increases the number of audits. C. The company reduces the quality of audits. D. The company eliminates the need for audits. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is A. The company saves time and reduces duplication of effort. A central repository reduces the burden on the security team. Option B is false. Option C is false. Option D is false. So the correct answer is A. Now, if you are ready, here is a more challenging question. A CISO proposes an integrated assurance program. The program includes a central evidence repository, mapped controls, and coordinated audit schedules. The CFO asks how this will benefit the organization. Which response is most compelling? A. It will reduce the time the security team spends on audits by 40%, freeing up resources for other priorities. B. It will make the auditors happy. C. It will eliminate all audits. D. It will increase compliance costs. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is A. It will reduce the time the security team spends on audits by 40%, freeing up resources for other priorities. This translates the benefit into business impact. Option B is not compelling. Option C is false. Option D is false. So the correct answer is A. Now, let me share 3 traps that even experienced managers fall into. First, treating audits as separate, unrelated events. They are not. They should be coordinated. Second, failing to centralize evidence. If evidence is scattered, you waste time finding it. Third, not communicating with auditors. Auditors are not adversaries. They can be partners if you work with them. Here are 3 tips to lock this in. First, implement a central evidence repository. Store all controls, policies, and test results in one place. Second, map your controls to multiple frameworks. Document once, use for multiple audits. Third, coordinate audit schedules. Align timelines to reduce the burden on the security team. Now that you understand integrated assurance, let's move to our final concept. The strategic leader thinks in business value, not just threat vectors. We have covered a lot in this video. Governance versus management. The 3 pillars of a value-driven security program. Information security, IT security, and cybersecurity. The WFM principle. The cascade of policies, standards, guidelines, and procedures. Global compliance challenges. Convergence of physical and logical security. The RACI model. Strategy, gap analysis, and resource allocation. The break-even point of maturity. KPIs and KRIs. Integrated assurance. But if you remember nothing else from this video, remember this. The strategic leader thinks in business value, not just threat vectors. Let me explain what I mean by that. A threat vector is a path an attacker can use to compromise a system. A security professional thinks about threat vectors. They think about vulnerabilities. They think about exploits. That is important. But it is not enough. A strategic leader thinks about business value. They think about how security enables the business to achieve its objectives. They think about risk in terms of business impact. They think about investments in terms of return on investment. They speak the language of the board. Here is the difference. A security professional says, we need to patch this vulnerability because it is critical. A strategic leader says, we need to patch this vulnerability because it exposes customer data, which could lead to regulatory fines and reputational damage. The cost of not patching is $5 million. The cost of patching is $50,000. We should patch it. Both statements are about the same vulnerability. One is technical. The other is business. One is tactical. The other is strategic. The strategic leader does not stop at the threat. They translate the threat into business impact. They do not stop at the control. They translate the control into business value. They do not stop at compliance. They translate compliance into competitive advantage. That is what the CISM is about. It is not about teaching you how to be a better technician. It is about teaching you how to be a better leader. It is about moving from the server room to the boardroom. From a business perspective, this is the single most important skill you can develop. The board does not care about technical details. They care about business outcomes. If you can translate security into business value, you will earn their respect. You will earn a seat at the table. You will become a strategic leader. Now, let me ask you a final question. A CISO presents a security strategy to the board. The strategy includes technical details about firewalls, encryption, and intrusion detection. The board asks, how does this help us achieve our business objectives? The CISO cannot answer. What is the root cause? A. The CISO is thinking like a technician, not a strategic leader. B. The board is asking the wrong question. C. The CISO is too technical. D. The strategy is not detailed enough. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is A. The CISO is thinking like a technician, not a strategic leader. The board is asking about business alignment. The CISO must translate security into business value. Option B is false. Option C is the symptom, not the root cause. Option D is false. So the correct answer is A. Now, let me ask you another question. A CISO proposes a new security investment. The CISO explains that the investment will reduce the risk of a data breach by 40%, saving the company an estimated $10 million in potential losses. What is the CISO demonstrating? A. Technical expertise. B. Strategic thinking by translating security into business value. C. Compliance knowledge. D. Threat vector analysis. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B. Strategic thinking by translating security into business value. The CISO is connecting security to business impact. Option A is not enough. Option C is not the primary message. Option D is only part of the picture. So the correct answer is B. Now a third question. A security manager says, we need to implement this control. Because it is a best practice. Which statement best challenges this assumption? A. Best practices are always required. B. The control should be justified by business value, not just best practice. C. Best practices are never wrong. D. The control is not important. Pause the video, think about your answer, then come back. The correct answer is B. The control should be justified by business value, not just best practice. Best practices are a starting point, but you must translate them into business value. Option A is false. Option C is false. Option D is false. So the correct answer is B. Now, let me share 3 final traps that even experienced managers fall into. First, thinking that technical expertise is enough. It is not. You must also understand business. Second, speaking technical language to the board. The board speaks business language. You must translate. Third, forgetting that security exists to enable the business. Security is not an end in itself. It is a means to an end. Here are 3 final tips to lock this in. First, always translate security into business value. Use language like, enables revenue, reduces risk, saves cost, or protects reputation. Second, develop your business acumen. Understand finance, strategy, and operations. Read business books. Take business courses. Third, practice your board presentations. Ask yourself, does this make sense to a non-technical executive? If not, rephrase it. And now, let me leave you with this final thought. You have now completed a masterclass on CISM Domain 1, Information Security Governance. You have learned the difference between governance and management. You have learned the 3 pillars of a value-driven security program. You have learned about culture, compliance, convergence, accountability, strategy, maturity, measurement, and integrated assurance. And you have learned the most important lesson of all: the strategic leader thinks in business value, not just threat vectors. Take this mindset into your exam and into your career. Think like a leader. Speak the language of business. Build security programs that enable the organization to achieve its objectives. That is what CSM is about. That is what governance is about. That is what leadership is about. Good luck on your exam. I will see you in the next video.